Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the vlog. Hope everyone is having a fantastic day. I hope that wherever you are watching this video, you are a lot warmer and cozier than I am. It is about 22 degrees outside. You can see there's been a lot of fresh snow that's fallen down. Not necessarily the perfect weather to be driving a C8 Corvette, but like I've said in many of my other videos, I bought this car to own it, drive it, and experience it. So I don't plan on shelving this car for the winter, and I do plan on sharing a lot of the different ownership experiences that come with owning a C8 Corvette. And so there is a lot to talk about in today's video, so I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm pretty much going to get straight to it. I've had the C8 Corvette for about 3.5 months now, and I have to say it is probably the best vehicle that I've ever owned. And being a truck person, it's truly amazing how great this platform is that General Motors has built for the Corvette. And so in today's video, I did want to take some time to talk about all the little tips, tricks, secrets, and I guess you could say hidden features about the C8 Corvette. A lot of people like to label these as hidden features because that's usually what gets more clicks, but I'm going to say it's more like tips and tricks that you really don't find out until you own the C8 Corvette. And so what I mean by that is it's all the little things that you probably don't see in a typical review video. And since I know there are a ton of people waiting to get their hands on their ordered C8 Corvette, whether it's a 2021 HTC or a 2021 Coupe, my main goal for today's video is to really just go over the little things that I've learned about this car after having had it for about 3 to 4 months. And I hope by the end of this video, there's at least one new thing that you got out of it. If there is, definitely let me know in the comments section what it is that you guys got from this video that you might not have known about this car prior to watching this video. As well as if there's something that I've missed talking about, definitely go ahead and drop it in the comments section below. That way, either somebody that already has this car or somebody that's waiting for this car can maximize the experience that is the C8 Corvette. So first things first, let's get all the easy things out of the way. A lot of people probably already know some of these. To open the frunk, you have 3 different ways. You can use the key fob to do the frunk or the rear hatch. You can also do the buttons inside by the driver feet area, or the button for the frunk is hidden. If you follow the headlight down, there's a little button tucked right under here. You can see that right there. You basically want to press that, and what that will do is double trigger a latch that's going to open your front frunk. Similarly, if you want to open the rear hatch, there is another button hidden right under the E. Basically, you want to stick your hand right under here, and that will allow you to open the rear hatch and get access to the rear storage compartment, as well as the engine bay. The initial opening point for the rear hatch is basically perfect if you want to get your top into the rear area or if you want to use it for storage. But let's say you want to work on the engine bay and you need a little bit more room. What's more practical is for most C8 owners, they're probably going to want extra space to be able to clean the rear glass. And you can see it's a little bit difficult to kind of get to the rear glass without having a little bit more access space. Basically what you can do is once the hatch is opened up to its normal resting spot, you can actually push it further about 6 inches or so. And it's amazing how wide this actually opens up. And now you can easily access this back glass to clean it, as well as if you have to work on anything in the engine bay. Jumping back to the front, there's actually a 4th way to open that many people may not know about, and it's very important if you have a C8 Corvette that you know how this whole system works. Let's say your car battery dies. Now most of these components are electronic. The release, either the key fob, the button, or the button under the bumper, are all electronic releases. And if you didn't know, the battery is located in the front. In the interest of time, I won't take this whole section apart, but the battery is basically located right behind here, right next to the cabin air filter intake. And since this is an electric release, if your battery dies, how do you get to it? So first things first, you guys can see there's a little button right here on the key fob. When you press that, it allows you, it is a lot easier to do with 2 hands, but you basically want to pull this out of the key fob, and then under the driver's side, you have a keyhole. The camera may not catch it, but you can see the little keyhole right there. You basically want to put the key inside and turn it, which will basically manually allow you to open that door. And I can't get a good angle with the lighting down here, but basically on the back firewall, unfortunately I can't get a ton of lighting down here to catch, but on the back firewall, there's a break in this fabric up here that you want to pull a latch. And what that latch will do is basically unlock the frunk manually. And you're probably thinking that, yeah, if the battery dies, I can just open up the manual and figure this out on my own. The sad reality of it is that the glove box is also an electronic release. And so when the battery is dead, you have no way of actually opening this and getting to your owner's manual. Next up on the list is the actual glove box and the center console. I do really like the practicality that both of those lock with the doors. If you have the top off in the summer and you want to run quickly inside the store, you can put keys, your wallet, basically anything that you want, you can put in the center console and the glove box, and it will lock with the doors. So somebody can't just easily walk by, reach through in the open top and pick up and walk away with anything. Which is basically why I think a lot of people should consider putting their owner's manual in the frunk. They give you a bunch of pockets to put stuff into. So you can see you guys get this pocket from the factory. This isn't an aftermarket accessory. And this side, basically what you can do is put your owner's manual in there, so you always have a manual way of getting to it, as well as you give yourself more space in the glove box to lock anything in that you may want to lock. So next up on my list of tips for the C8 Corvette is the actual roof. Surprisingly, there's a right way to open the latches and there's a wrong way to open the latches. If you've had Corvettes in previous generations, you're probably familiar with this, but myself and many people buying their first ever Corvette, this was a learning experience. And basically after a couple bruised knuckles, you kind of learn the right way of doing it. So these latches are pretty straightforward. You basically want to open them and pull them out. It's pretty straightforward, but it's actually, this is the more tricky latch. For the longest time, I was basically pressing the release button, and then this would come down with a really good amount of force. And if your hand wasn't positioned correctly, this is a pretty good knock on your knuckles. The right way to open this, and most Corvette owners are definitely going to know this, it again took me a couple bruised knuckles to figure out, is you basically want to push this damper back here and then press the button and guide it back. And what that does is it takes the tension off this hook and then lets you carefully open it down, as opposed to, ow. The next item on the list relates to charging outlets. Everyone knows that there are 2 USB ports inside of the center console, but what most people don't know is there's actually a hidden 12 volt inside the C8 Corvette. Most things have transitioned to USB, such as phone chargers, but on the off chance you still have the need for a 12 volt anything, you basically want to go under the glove box, and you can see right here there's a little 12 volt outlet tucked away. You can basically plug anything in here and then route the wire up however you need it, and have the option to use a 12 volt outlet to do anything with. Next up on my list of things is related to the GT2 seats, and let's just take a moment to appreciate how amazing this seat looks, especially in this two-tone. I initially had ordered a tan seat all the way across, the natural dipped, but after seeing some of these C8s hit the market, I noticed that a lot of them looked dirty because of the perforation holes on the natural seats. It just had this really black shadowy effect. And so basically I was able to change my option pretty late into the status codes to have the two-tone seats and get the center black. And I genuinely think the GT2 seats are a must buy for the C8. If you're building one, it's so worth it for a couple of different reasons. One of which has not been talked about in any video that I've seen. Maybe because it's implied knowledge, but again, for somebody that's buying a Corvette for their first time, this was new to me, all the way up to when I took delivery of the C8. There are 3 seats. You basically have the GT1, which is a very flat seat compared to this. You have the competition seat, which is very aggressive. This drop-off is just insanely aggressive. And then you have the best of both worlds, which is this GT2 seat, which supposedly has less aggressive bolsters than the competition seat. What I didn't realize is that the bolsters on the GT2 seats are also adjustable, so you can move this bolster in and out to get something almost comparable to the competition seat, while being able to adjust it backwards to get something that's closer to the GT1 seat and give wider frames more room to sit in. And I thought that was absolutely amazing, and it's just another reason to get the GT2 seat. Unfortunately, there's no easy way to capture it in video, but when you're sitting inside the seat, what you want to do is the forward and backwards on this turn dial thing here is what makes these bolsters come in or out to give you a better grip in the seat. Next up is a really quick safety feature. Basically, the C8 Corvette allows you to never shut the vehicle off without it being in park. So with the vehicle in drive, if I go and shut the car off, it automatically drops it into park, which is a huge safety net. Previous generations of Corvette had this option as well, which is the ability to get into service mode. It's as simple as holding the power button down for 5 seconds. As you can see, the whole car is basically turned the ECU on and allows me to go through a bunch of various settings. Additionally, it allows you to play your music as well as get climate going in the vehicle, so you can kind of get all those options. Be in mind this will drain the battery down a little bit, but it is cool that it has like this advanced accessory mode basically. just to compare, regular accessory mode, when you press the power button without holding it down, doesn't give you the gauge cluster to play your audio through, which I should be pointing over here. As well as it doesn't really give you anything besides this logo. You can't turn on the AC or the heat, which holding it down into service mode does allow you to do. You guys can see in accessory mode, if I go to climate and then I try to turn it on, it's going to tell me you can't do it while the vehicle is working. But as you guys just saw in service mode, by holding it down, it does allow me to do that. But again, keep in mind this will drain your battery down pretty fast, so be mindful of how long you're in that mode. So first things first, when you're out and about and driving, one of my hands down favorite features about the C8 Corvette is the ability to hold both paddles down, and then you can drop into neutral to really rev if you're in a tunnel, under an overpass. It's a really quick and easy way to be able to do that. I know you can press the neutral button and do it as well. It's just so much better and more in control when your hands don't have to leave the steering wheel. Another really cool thing is your ability to skip gears with the dual clutch transmission. What I mean by that is, let's say you've manually upshifted into like 5th gear and now I want to downshift aggressively. I can click minus a bunch of times to get down, or I can basically hold down the minus button and it's going to drop down. You can see to 1st gear. Whoo! And you have a little bit more control on how the gear selection is going to work. One thing I don't think anyone has ever talked about in YouTube is the ability to get back into drive when you switch to manual with the paddle shifters. As you guys can see, the D is bigger and the 4 is smaller, which basically indicates that I'm in drive and in 4th gear. When I manually upshift, you can see the 5 became larger and the D became smaller to indicate that I'm in manual. But I'm not really in manual, because you can see I'm still in drive auto. I basically chose to override automatic with the manual paddle shifters, but how do I get back to manual? Well, there's 2 ways to do it. I can either press manual and then go back to drive, and that's going to make the D larger and the 5 smaller again. You can see now I'm back into manual mode with the paddle shifters, but I'm still in drive. The other way to do it is basically hold the upshift paddle down and it's going to shift me back to automatic. Another little hidden trick with the C8 Corvette is, if it's nighttime, you actually have a 4th set of gauges that you can have. So you have your normal ones, you have your track, your sport, and your touring mode gauge sets. As you cycle through those modes, you're going to get a bunch of different gauge options, but the 4th one that very few people know about is the night mode. So when you turn the dimness down all the way, it actually puts the car into this very special mode. It shuts the screen off, it lowers all the brightness. This is something you would expect in just about every vehicle, but the one thing you need for the C8 is it actually changes the gauge cluster, not just dims it down. And as you can see, hopefully the camera picks it up. Let me just get light in here. Now you guys can kind of see it really just dims it down to the speed that you're going and takes out a lot of that additional noise. So if you're somebody that's sensitive to lights at night, like I am, this is actually a really good feature to have. And if you want to exit this mode, all you really have to do is turn up the brightness and you'll be able to go back into whatever that last set of gauges that you had were. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a big old thumbs up. If you haven't, definitely check out some of the other videos on the channel. I promise there's a lot of good C8 Corvette content already there. And if you want to follow along for a lot more cool C8 Corvette content, definitely consider hitting that subscribe button. We have a lot of other cool cars coming to the channel, and I'm really excited to try to grow this platform in 2021. And without your help with a subscribe, that's going to be much harder to do. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, take care, have a great night. Until the very next video, I will see you all in the comment section below.